Chapter 6: The Rockefellers and Rothschilds. The real menace of our republic is this invisible government which like a giant octopus sprawls its slimy length over city, state and nation. Like the octopus of real life, it operates under cover of a self-created screen. At the head of this octopus are the Rockefeller Standard Oil interests and a small group of powerful banking houses generally referred to as international bankers. The little coterie of powerful international bankers virtually run the United States government for their own selfish purposes. They practically control both political parties. This is a quote by New York City Mayor John F. Hillen, 1922. According to Jim Marrs in his book Rule by Secrecy, John Davison Rockefeller continues to be the most recognized and despised rich man in the world, even though he's been dead since 1937. According to Marrs, during the past century, no one family in America has assembled such power and influence as the Rockefellers, thanks to their wealth and close ties to England. In 1870 he incorporated Standard Oil Company of Ohio with the Rothschild family providing Rockefeller with money to begin his monopolization of the oil refinery business. Rockefeller stated that competition was a sin and so he ruthlessly eliminated competitors by either mergering or buying them out, failing that he cut prices until his competition was forced to sell. He managed railroad agreements which ensured his monopoly on the transportation of oil. Standard Oil was the ancestor of Exxon. By 1880, Rockefeller owned or controlled 95% of all oil produced in the U.S. After the turn of the century, he became America's first billionaire. By his death in 1937, Rockefeller and his son had also established institutions such as the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, the General Education Board, the University of Chicago, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Lincoln School and the Rockefeller University in New York. Rockefeller Jr. had one daughter and 5 sons. The daughter died of cancer but the sons are named John I. Nelson, Lawrence, Winthrop and David. Competition is a sin. This is a quote by John D. Rockefeller. David was the youngest of the 5, and in a letter to the New York Times he stated we should stand by the British Empire to the limit and at any cost. In 1973, it was reported that David Rockefeller had met with 27 heads of state, including rulers of Russia and Red China. Author Alf Epperson commented saying this is truly incredible because Rockefeller has neither been elected, nor appointed, to any governmental position where he could officially represent the U.S. government. The drive of the Rockefellers and their allies is to create a one-world government combining supercapitalism and communism under the same tent, all under their control. Do I mean conspiracy? Yes, I do. I am convinced there is such a plot, international in scope, generations old in planning, and incredibly evil in intent. This is a quote by Congressman Larry P. McDonald, killed on a Korean Airlines flight that was shot down by the Russians in 1983. According to Marrs, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund in 1997, listed almost $500 million in assets and since 1940 the fund had dispersed more than $461 million in grants to institutes and universities. That kind of money buys you a massive amount of influence and or control. This present window of opportunity, during which a truly peaceful and interdependent world order might be built, will not be open for too long. We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the new world order. This is a quote by David Rockefeller, speaking at the UN in 1994. The name of Rothschild is associated with modern banking around the world. According to some authors, the fortune of the family was built from money that was embezzled from William I.X. who was handsomely paid by the British government to provide soldiers to fight American colonists during the Revolution. David Icke wrote that William handed over the money to Mayor Amschel Bauer for investment, but it was used to establish his son Nathan as the head of the London branch of the banking family house. The Rothschilds were close to politicians and to royalty because Nathan's father purchased the debts of George, Prince Regent, later King George IV, and his brothers. Strange is it not, that names such as Rockefeller, Rothschild, Windsor et al. Never appear in the popular rich lists of the world's most wealthy. Why is that? What do the media not want us to know? This is a quote by author John Hamer. Jim Marrs writes in Rule by Secrecy that unrelenting attention to business, coupled with intermarriages and the use of front men, built a gigantic and secretive Rothschild banking empire. This empire exerted considerable influence on the economic and hence the political history of Europe as well as the US, although here in a more covert and indirect manner. Derek Wilson, a biographer of the Rothschilds, states that by 1815, Nathan had become the principal financier to both the British government and its Bank of England. Icke goes on to say that they had the crown heads of Europe in debt to them, and this included the Black nobility dynasty, the Habsburgs, who ruled the Holy Roman Empire for 600 years. The Rothschilds also took control of the Bank of England. If there was a war, the Rothschilds were behind the scenes, creating the conflict and funding both sides. At present, more than 90% of the world's wealth, in a world of 6 billion people, is controlled by less than 10,000 individuals, mostly from 24 families, who can trace their blue blood lineage back many hundreds of years. At the head of the line is the Rothschild family, which controls all the others. It has been estimated that the aggregate Rothschild wealth is at minimum 5,000 times greater than the annual gross national product of the United States, although it's difficult to calculate, because the Rothschild octopus and its loyal lieutenants of the Rockefeller family literally own the U.S. money supply, the Federal Reserve, and all the major banks of the Western world. Henry Kissinger is the chief lieutenant of David Rockefeller, who is the American commissar of the Rothschild Empire, which runs just about everything. There are no real enemies, only those created by the powers that be to create the chaotic conditions to both cull the population and profit from the sales of weapons to both sides. It has been that way throughout the 20th century, and doubtless long before. This is a quote by researcher John Kaminski.